Will everybody calm down and come to order? This is the September 17th, 2018 regular city council meeting. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now pause for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. You can be seated. Well, I see everybody survived the turbulent weather we had over the weekend.
Mr. Mayor, before we get started,
Yes, sir.
Just one announcement. Today is a special day, Mayor O'Neill's birthday. So we've got some cupcakes. Sylvia's got those. If everybody would join us in wishing Mayor O'Neill a very, very happy birthday, and hopefully very many more.
Thank you. Please pass them around. First come, first serve, whoever wants one. So, wow. I'll put my finger in one of them. You got to guess which one it was. Anybody want a cupcake? Can you pass it around?
Done for me, thanks.
Did you make these, Sylvia?
Go that way.
Let's see if there's any left.
Gus,
guys really aren't gonna
if
eat
you're
these?
done with
What's
them,
wrong with you?
would you put them down there? And I'm going to put them out there for anybody who wants to come eat them. I'm on a seafood diet. I eat everything I see. And I'll just say thank you very much, City Manager. Your raise has been approved. I just want to say that Alicia
joke.
brought me this. What
That
is
was
this
a
called?
joke. Just
It
for
was cupcakes
clarification.
and whipped cream.
Cupcakes and whipped cream. Heather got me a card. The two guys.
Slackers.
Drinks
I
after.
got a hug and a
12.
handshake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, let's do special presentations, because that's my favorite thing to do. I'm gonna need my glasses. And I'm gonna leave these cupcakes up here for anybody who wants them. Appreciate that. I only have one. Okay? Remember. There you go. Okay, item number 1, cancer awareness. Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas childhood cancer is a leading cause of death by disease in children, and whereas 1 in 285 children in the United States will be diagnosed by their 20th birthday, 43 children per day, or 15,780 children are diagnosed with cancer annually in the U.S. There are approximately 40,000 children on active treatment at any time, and whereas during the month of September, we pay tribute to these families, friends, professionals, and communities who lend their strength to children fighting pediatric cancer. May their courage and commitment continue to move us towards new cures, healthier outcomes, and brighter future for American youth. And where our city recognizes Childhood Cancer Awareness Month by placing gold ribbons throughout the city, the universal symbol for cancer affecting children, as gold is a precious metal and is therefore the perfect color to reflect the most precious thing in our lives. Therefore be it proclaimed that I, as the mayor and council of the city of Tega, do hereby declare September 2018 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and encourage all citizens to join in reaffirming the commitment in fighting childhood cancer. And who's going to take this proclamation? Nobody? Okay. That's good. Just brought the wrong paper. Okay. Item B, proclamation recognizing Eagle Scout project by Garrett Jones. Garrett, come on up. Congratulations. Before I read this, why don't you tell us what you did?
Okay, so at the Lookout Park Pavilion, I stained the pavilion. I power washed the pavilion, and I added timbers around like the hills, so water would not just like run off into the pavilion and like collect as mud because it was like 4 or 5 inches, like 3 or 4 inches high, and now it's like, and I also added mulch to help absorb the water, and now it's like almost never there at all.
Very good. How'd you get this idea?
I just went by, like
Saw something that needed
Yeah.
to be done, and you just pitched in. Well, we appreciate it. And in honor of your service, I'd like to recognize Garrett Jones. Whereas Garrett Jones has proven himself to be an outstanding and dedicated member of the Boy Scouts of America. The Eagle Scout Award is a distinction that will follow Garrett throughout his life, making him a valuable asset wherever he is. Whereas Garrett displayed strong skills while refurbishing the gazebo area and landscaping at Lookout Park. We recognize the skills used for his Eagle Scout project that have resulted in something all residents of TK may enjoy and appreciate as we gaze upon the newest revitalization of the Lookout Park area. Now therefore be proclaimed that the mayor and council of the city of TK do hereby congratulate and recognize Garrett Jones for his outstanding achievement toward the rank of Eagle Scout. We are proud of him as a member of our community. Signed this 17th day of September 2018. We'll get some pictures. Hold on, we'll just get some pictures. Let's see if I've got anything for you. Where you want it, over here? We'll get his family up here too. Hey, Mom and Dad? Are you very proud of him? That's what my daughter told me. She's pediatric. She's pediatric cancer. You want to get your picture, Cameron? Oh, I'm good. You're good, okay. Congratulations. Thank you. You sure do. Got it? Oh, I'm sorry, Garrett. Let's do one more picture. I was out of order there. That's why we got Sylvia to keep me. Susan? I get it. Hold on. I get it. I'm just getting old. It's my birthday. Okay, I found it. This is just got on the wrong one. All right, let's do one more picture. Get rid of my eyeballs here. Don't use not good anymore. There you go. There you go. Congratulations. Let me double check before I even start this. Okay, Community Planning Month. Community Planning Month proclamation. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, counties, communities, rural areas, and other places. And community planners help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work and live. Whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States, which gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of the planning commissions and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Tega, South Carolina. Whereas we recognize that many valuable contributions made by professional community and regional planners of the city of Tega, the county of York, and the state of South Carolina, and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now, therefore, the mayor and council of the city of Tega thereby proclaim Community Planning Month in the city of Tega for the month of October in conjunction with the celebration of National Community Planning Month, signed the 17th day of September 2018. And I'm giving this to Susan, Britt, or Chris.
Thanks for coming, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Let's get the official photo. There you go. Hang that proudly someplace. Item number D. Proclamation for Constitution Week. Whereas today marks the 231st anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. Whereas the Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Therefore, be proclaimed by the Mayor and Council of the City of Tega, South Carolina, that the week of 17 through 23 shall be Constitution Week, and urge all citizens to study their Constitution and reflect the privilege of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities which that privilege involves. Signed the 17th day of September 2018. Is Lisa Griffin here? There you are. All right. We'll take a picture and then I want you to.
Thank you very much.
There you go. And why are we giving this to you as opposed to somebody else? You're part of what organization?
The Nation for Daughters of the American Revolution.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number E. Certificate of resignation. That was complete slip up by me. I swear, I didn't mean that. I'm coming to the party though. Okay, we have a certificate of recognition to Fernando Diaz in recognition of his participation at the Camp Can Do, August 3rd through 8th, 2018. You want to come up, Chief? Do I have something else to read? Okay, you should, absolutely. You got a speech?
It's not a speech. Fernando grew up in Tega. He lived here 16 years. All right. He is married to his loving wife, Jenna, almost 3 years. If you met her, you'd never forget her. Okay. He's been employed with TK for approximately 2 years. He has risen to the rank of firefighter 2 and EMT. He's also an engineer. That's the guy that drives the truck. All right. He makes sure we get there and get home. He always goes above and beyond, excuse me, get that damn head cold, and his duties. One way he has proven this is he signed up for Camp Can Do, right? Okay. And he went on his own time for a week to Columbia. That camp is for burdened children, all right? Excuse me. Let's see. We also came up with our reading plan, a story with a hero. And I asked him, since he went to the camp, he might want to help with this. He took it bull by the horns and did a great job. Impressed me. I'm hard to impress. The story time, we had 60 people, and Fernando was very animated, I would say. And even Charlie was surprised when he did the train whistle, or the fire truck whistle, horn, and siren. It was amazing. Yeah, we can ask him to do it right now. He's really a guy that we're lucky to have. He went to Rock Hill, then he went to Charleston, then he came back home. And we're not going to let him go. Let's see. That's it. We're lucky to have him. Let the mayor give you your certificate.
First, I want to hear the train whistle, or whatever it is.
Get up.
So, raise your hand if you guys were there, first and foremost. Anybody? Well, thank you guys. Well, those of you that weren't, I would like to invite you. We're going to be there again Saturday, and there's going to be another story. You know, you're going to be in there for a surprise. You never know. It might be the firefighter shark, do. You never know. It might be something completely different. But anyway, what I did for the kids was to get them engaged, was ask them what sound does a fire truck make? Do you guys know what sound it makes other than loud, scary noises where you're driving and it make you freak out and you get to the side of the road? Well, I need everybody just real quick, put your hand up. I'm just going to, just a quick sample. Everybody, go honk, honk.
Hong Kong.
Okay, and of course, we're blaring down the street safely, but effectively. And when we come down, we make a lot of noise. We go, wee, 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 wee. I need you guys to do that real quick for me.
Wee,
Come
wee,
on.
wee, 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 wee,
So everyone,
wee,
put your hand up. Go, wee, 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 wee,
wee,
wee.
wee,
Honk, honk.
Hong Kong.
That's what we did for the kids.
appreciate everything you've done.
Thanks, sir.
Photo bomber.
Okay, we're doing the TK Golf Management Budget Presentation, and I'm through here, right? I really like being up here.
Come on, Josh, he always wants to get on camera. Where'd he go? Oh, that was great. Talking about the fire. We need some of those on the golf carts. You make those noises? Thanks, everybody, for allowing us to come and discuss our upcoming fiscal year for TK Golf Club. We're excited about what's going on. First and foremost, we're happy birthday again to the mayor. And we're happy to provide you with some, golf balls we found in the lakes. We've got some in Josh's office if you'd like to
I
come
stopped
get some
marking
before you
my
play.
balls. to that
They were his.
We'll give them to you. Yeah. Some might have been retrieved from your prior shots. But it's the golf course is just quick update is good from the storm. We're very blessed. We were worried about it, but we ended up faring very, very well and back up and running. So we're excited about that because I always get nervous when those things come through. Okay, for this year, upcoming fiscal year, just a quick little update on the business improvement since we arrived. Our first year, we played 27,770 rounds, and the total golf revenue was $1,045,000. This month, which ends our fiscal year 2/17/2/18, we, except for the past 4 days where we've been closed, we should finish up around 30,800 rounds and a total golf revenue of $1,345,000. So it's been a really nice run. Since we've been here. The golf course now is covering $183,000 of annual loan payments for golf carts, golf course equipment, and the cove irrigation replacement that we did a couple years ago. So, and this year, on top of our fiscal year budget, we were able to include an additional $60,000 in capital projects, tree work, landscaping, cart path repair, that we're able to do from the improvement that we had in the business. We went ahead and reinvested those dollars back into the facility. Our plan for this coming fiscal year is to continue to improve the asset. We feel like that's the best strategy for long-term success. Continue the strategy of the overall best experience in the market, course conditions, service, and price. And continue to grow rounds and tournaments, particularly. TK is with Josh and his staff and Chuck and his staff. We've become known as the place to bring your event in this community and the area. The budget calls for 31,477 total rounds. Revenue, 1,328,510. Operating expense, $1,093,850. Again, our loan payments within that are $182,888, and our transfer to the operating reserve account when it's all said and done is $51,770. So we continue to add to that reserve as requested by the council and city manager. Just a couple of quick highlights on our fees. I won't go over this in broad detail, but the Monday through Thursday regular rate at TK is $50. Just by comparison, our two main competitors, Fort Mill and Springfield, are at $57. On Friday, we're at $59 as compared to $61 to the competitors. And Saturday, Sunday, our regular rate is $58 as compared to $69 of those two facilities. So we remain below those competitors. Yet with our conditions and our service, we're really gaining market share by continuing with that strategy. Again, the TK free residence card has been a great program. $3 off the regular rates and $1 off all other rates for all residents of TK. For the membership, again, we have a few different Programs, we have a senior weekday, which is an annual payment of $1,440 at $120 a month. Family plan at $1,800 or $150 a month, and the individual at $1,740, $145 a month, and then the regular family plan is $2,100 or $175 a month. We do offer a 10% prepaid discount. If you pay in the months of November or December, you get 10% off of those rates. By comparison, you can see the senior weekday for Springfield, Fort Mill, and all the rates are significantly less than what we charge. Again, that's by strategy, and it's worked out really well, and our membership is strong, they're happy, and it's been really good for several years now. And summary components for us is continue for the golf facility to be self-supporting. That's important, obviously. And continue the quality of the golf course conditions, superior customer service, continued growth in tournament and outing business as we discussed. We do have some capital improvement plans on our radar. Highlights are continued cart path repair. Anybody that plays golf knows that that's an ongoing process and program. We're getting ready to do more in the next 2 weeks. We'll do more for the next fiscal year. We are going to purchase new greens covers. Those are the covers that we put on the greens when it gets very cold. You'll see them piled up next to the greens throughout the winter. Obviously, critical component to keeping the quality of the asset. Ours are now in need of repair, so we're going to purchase new greens covers. And then we have a vision and ideas for the practice facility, the staging area. When you come up to the clubhouse where the pavilion is, the practice facility, to expand the concrete staging area, to add private golf cart parking. It's become, over the last several years, there's lots of activity up there. We feel like we need a separate space for security and for safety of everybody, for private golf cart parking, and to expand the teeing area. Obviously, our outing business is critical. We do approximately $250,000 a year in tournament outing business. And so that component of the facility for staging, tournaments, warming up and gathering after play is over is really, really huge for us, and we need more space. We're parking carts in the grass right now and private carts kind of all over the place, so we'd like to expand that to where we can really have a nice presentation when everybody arrives on a paved area. So the couple of quick things, just these two gentlemen, Josh Brownell and Chuck Smith, are what drives Tega K Golf Facility, and their staff. They're the best in the business, in our opinion. We've been doing this a long time, and we're all lucky to have both of you on our team and appreciate everything you do. But any questions, we'd be happy to entertain them, but we appreciate your support and allowing us to take care of this great asset and to keep improving it.
Yeah, thank you. You guys are doing a great job. The golf course looks great. It looks better every year. Anybody have any questions for us? I used to remember back when I was sitting out there, you guys needed money from the city of Tega to operate every year. Wasn't that the case?
First few years we did. That's
Yeah,
correct.
and that's
Yes,
not the
sir.
case anymore. You're not subsidized by city taxes whatsoever. You are a self-sustaining golf course.
That's correct.
Well, we appreciate that.
We're doing our best to keep the hurricanes away, and we'll
That's
keep
another
trying.
expense we don't have to worry about. So we appreciate all you do. Chuck,
Thank
you're
you.
doing a
We
good job.
appreciate it.
Josh, still got that slice. I don't know what to do about it. But I know. Charlie's working me too hard. I can't get off. But I do. I haven't played golf this whole year. That's a darn shame. It's my
it's your
birthday.
birthday. You should come out.
I know. But I'll get out there. I'm real excited about what you guys did at the Cove back there with those larger cups.
How'd
That's
that work out?
Very cool experiment.
Yeah.
I've had feedback on both sides of the fence there, but for the most part, people really enjoy it. We're running it another week, and then we're going to do some comparisons, see. But it's been fun to try it. Yeah.
For those who hadn't heard in the audience and who play along on TV back home, they made 6-inch cups is what you went to, or did you do the 8? 6-inch? 6-inch cups to ease the putting and to speed up the game a little bit. And it really, I played golf on an 8-inch cups by accident many years ago, and it was really fun. It was a lot of fun. It really changes the dynamics of the game. And so I really appreciate y'all doing that. I hope it works out well.
Yeah, it's been fun, and we'll continue to do things like that.
Great.
Just to try. It's what's great about the Cove. We can do all kinds of fun opportunities to grow the game and get more people involved in golf.
Yep, great. Thanks very much, guys.
David, how many tournaments have you hosted this year and are planning to for the rest
Oh,
of the
gosh, what's
season?
what would be the count?
Is it over last year? Just curious. Okay.
Yes, it's grown every year. The last 5 years particularly is really every year, and again, it's a credit to the staff.
Yeah.
And the facility.
Yeah, you guys are doing a great
The
job.
facility's gotten better and better. The golf course is great. They're treated well, the price is right, and having 27 holes makes a huge difference to attract.
Yeah.
And this facilities to host afterwards
Right.
for the groups at the community center and conference center, as well as the pavilion area. So it's a treat for us to have the asset to be able to sell these.
Right. Before the end of the year. That's great. That's awesome. That's cool.
Any other
I like that
questions?
reserve fund.
Yeah.
It's good.
We're trying.
When you implement the private golf cart parking, when is that when you plan on doing that?
What we'll probably get through the spring
Okay.
first, and then maybe early summer. start
So
tackling
we've
that
got
project.
the golf cart, or the golf meeting next week, is it? Can we talk about that then?
Sure.
I'd kind of like to hear about it. Oh, it's this week, this Thursday?
Thursday, right?
I'll be there.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
for coming.
That's pretty cool when the golf cart, or the golf course people get a hand. Okay, item 1G, capital improvements plan with Tyler.
Show us your fancy tools, Tyler.
Please work. Can you see it? Is it impossible to read? Let me try to zoom in. Is that better?
We'll take your word.
Sure.
We can
I'll
stand
give you a
up.
really high-level
look over
overview of what we're talking about. So our firm, you know us well. We work with governmentals, a lot of cities and counties throughout the Carolinas and Georgia, helping with debt transactions. So if you need to borrow money or develop a plan of finance for a fire station or a police station, you hire us to sit on your side of the table, advise you on that transaction, try to get you the best terms and provisions. And in traditional financial advisory models, we would then go away until you need us again. But our firm, over the last 3 or 4 years, has started offering comprehensive planning services. And so we help our clients with their capital improvement plan or their project wish list. So we've got a priority list of projects, amounts, timing. How are we going to repay it? Is it going to be funded from impact fees or property taxes, so general fund dollars? Is it going to be a water and sewer system project, for example? And then we help them build out income statements and balance sheet projections, and we do it with staff at a very detailed level. We weave into these models outputs such as your scorecard, so your rating from Moody's Investor Service, for example. And so we had a lot of elected officials, a lot of staff, quite frankly, ask us questions like, well, if we borrow this money, do we get downgraded? Or if we structure this debt over 5 years instead of 10, will we violate our financial policies? What's going to be the impact to citizens in 5 years from now? And we weren't offering that service. This model is that service. I think we probably work with about 50 or 60 governmentals in the Carolinas now on these types of models. It's what we call our capital planning model. It's not a fancy name for it. And Charlie and Bob have asked me to come in front of you and just show you what it will look like. It's not complete. We've just started the process. Quite frankly, you will see some projects in here that look familiar. They are your proposed projects, but not in any order. They're just a sample. The financial ratios are a sample. But we wanted to give you a quick 15-minute overview of what the model is and how you're going to use it in the future. And the likelihood is that as you get into your next budget cycle, you'll see us again. And when you're making decisions about projects and timing and amounts, you're going to have a capital planning model to help frame that decision-making process so you understand what is the impact to various number of variables by making certain decisions. That's what we want to provide. So I'm gonna walk through it. I apologize if it's not very large on your screen. I promise we'll get it back in front of you as well. The dashboard is where the user really lives. It's where your staff will live, and then you all, as you get your hands on it, will live as well. You input your various projects that you've got in front of you, and so this should look something like a capital improvement plan or so. I've got a fire truck. I've got some park improvements on here, Catawba Park, a water storage tank. All these will be familiar to you. So you input your various projects and your assumed amounts for those projects, and then you input your timing. So when you're either going to use cash to pay for the project or when you would borrow money if you're going to debt finance a particular project.
You input into the model which fund you're expecting to use to repay either the debt that you issue for the project, or which fund will you pull cash off of the balance sheet to pay for the project. All of these are drop-down tools, and so if you can imagine over time, as you're considering new projects that may be of interest to you, we will be able to cycle through, well, should we use impact fees, or is that really solid waste? I mean, can we fund it from that fund, for example? So we'll be able to drop through and make any selections there that you'd like. We can choose the funding type, and so as you know, there are many funding types available to municipalities in South Carolina, including general obligation bonds, installment purchase revenue bonds. Maybe we can get a grant for this project, or we'll use cash or an SRF loan financing. Is that potentially available to us? We go through and we select our financing type. In this instance, I selected general obligation bond as a sample. Of course, we need to tell the planning tool, is it going to be an 8% general obligation bond, or are we going to have a referendum? If it's 8%, of course, you have limited 8% capacity. Do we have the actual capacity for that? If we're borrowing money, we additionally tell it what's the structure of the debt repayment. Are we going to have level payments in every single year? Pay it back over 20 years, and what's the assumed interest rate? So you input all of these assumptions into the financial model, and it tells you a couple of things right away. First, it tells you what your projected credit rating will be. This tachometer that you're looking at is modeled off of Moody's Investors Service Scorecard. It's a 25-page publication that they update annually. It gives guidance for municipalities about what goes into their rating. They basically say if you are between this and that for this metric, we weight all of them, and then we pump out AA1 or AA2 or AA3, and then the analysts adjust it. And so if you're looking at this tachometer in front of you now, you'll see the city is right between the single A and double A category. If you were in the future to ask us to cash fund Catawba Park, which we turn on in 2020, we would drop down and we would understand the impact of that decision. We don't have $12 million of unrestricted cash. Of course, your fund balance goes negative. You would receive a multiple notch downgrade. That's the way that the tachometer is supposed to work. It tells us tax impact. And so right now, this is a really nice flat-looking chart, which says to us no tax impact for these various projects. But if you decided, for example, rather than cash funding that park, but we would issue GEO bonds and we would hold a referendum to do it, in the absence of any other revenue source, we would be looking at a tax increase, of course. It's looking for dollars available in your budget. Are there any? If not, raise property taxes. You're able to track your debt service requirements by fund. And so, for example, we can select our general fund. The teal bars are your existing payments. Gray are your proposed payments. We can toggle between all the various funds. And impact fees will be a really interesting one to have in this model. As you've got those broken out among impact fee type, we'll be able to input all that information. You'll be able to make various assumptions on those. Which projects get funded? Do we have too much cash in the account? You'll be able to monitor all that information with the model. Let's see. I'll continue to go through this. We've got different financial ratios you could track, days cash on hand, or the amount of debt service coverage that you have, for example. In these different funds, we can monitor all of your policy levels. This chart here is your unassigned fund balance over time as well. The model is looking for, in this instance, about $800,000 to fund a portion of this project. If you came to us and said, well, I've got $500,000 in my budget from this new revenue source, whatever, you can input that information into, not 5 million, but you can input that information into the financial model, and it will tell you, okay, that's going to lower that tax impact from what was initially 16.98 to 6.34 in 2000, whichever year this was, 21. And so as you're making these decisions, we're putting the information in the model, we're cranking through all your financial ratios, and the wonderful thing about it is it doesn't take us 3 or 4 weeks to come back to you. We can stand in front of you in open council meetings and workshops, and we can give you answers as quickly as you can ask us questions. Just a little bit about the financial model. In addition to this, we project out your detailed income statements. We take 5 years of historicals. We work with staff. We develop a good projection. That's all included in this financial model. A really neat feature is your ability to select your peers. So a financial pro forma tax impact rating is helpful, but we also wanted to be able to show the output of the model and your particular financial ratios relative to other municipalities in the state. How does Rock Hill look? How does Clover look, for example? And we have the ability to do that. And so what I've done is selected all South Carolina municipalities, excuse me, smaller than 25,000 folks with a credit rating of A1 to AA1. If you made these changes, your peer group would automatically update. So if you said, let's just go to 15,000 and see what that looks like, your peer group updates for you, and you are automatically going to see the output of the financial model relative to those peers. And so the orange bar at the top, that's where you are at your last fiscal year, your last audited financial statements, 2017. Your gray bar is the pro forma, and then we get to compare you to everybody else. And so as you're making decisions, let's spend cash for this project, and it's going to take your fund balance down from 25 to 20. Okay, maybe we meet our financial policy, but how do we look relative to all the other municipalities in the state? What is everybody else doing as well? Just additional context for us. And so we've got really the primary general fund financial ratio shown. How much cash do you have as a percent of your budget, both total fund balance and unassigned fund balance? How much debt do you have relative to the size of your tax base? How much debt do you have relative to the number of folks in your municipality? And also, what percentage of your budget is comprised of debt service payments, which shows budgetary flexibility. We have the same thing on the water and sewer side. We just track fewer ratios on the water and sewer side generally. Pause there. I'm going to pause for just a moment. I know it's a lot of numbers. I know it's very difficult to see, but that's a high-level overview of our model. Any questions about what it does? Anything you've seen maybe it doesn't do from council?
Any questions?
Does it show debt capacity? So say that we do decide to do something, add on debt, say we want to take out a GO bond. Does it show like what our capacity is in addition to what our payments are going to be in addition to where we are now?
Sure.
Is that overlap?
This model doesn't say here is your debt capacity, but because it does show you your credit rating and because it shows you tax impact, we can get you debt capacity based on how you're going to define that. So if you said my debt capacity is going to be limited by a financial ratio, maybe your financial policies, which is very typical, yes, we can show that to you because we've got your financial policies in the model. Let me show you one thing just quickly, for example, out to the right-hand side. As you're making changes, we're inputting your policy levels, and if we are violating them in any instance, it highlights red for you. So example, if your days cash on hand policy was only 50 days cash, we would have no issues in this current pro forma. But because we assume in this sample it's higher, 180, you do violate. So to answer your question, we can look at it any number of ways. How do we borrow money without lowering our credit rating? That's how a lot of folks look at debt capacity. We can answer that. We've got the tachometer. What about our financial policies? We can answer that. What if you said debt capacity to me was based on our ability to do this without a property tax increase? We can also answer that question.
What's the effect when we get our credit rating lowered? So we go from an A to a B1 or something. Does that means the future bonds are going to be more expensive?
That's right. Credit rating downgrades. You're currently AA3s, your general obligation rating, which is excellent. Actually, for a municipality your size, there aren't really any AA3s out there. I think Isle of Palms is the only one that has a smaller population with as high of a rating as you all do. The reason that you have that rating is because of your wealth levels and your historical financial management. The answer to your question is it's very minimal, and it only impacts your future debt issuance. So you borrowed fixed rate from banks and investors. They don't get to reset that rate because you went from AA3 to A1. It just means that the next time you borrow money, your interest rate will be slightly higher, but we're talking about 0.1%, maybe 15 basis points, a very, very minor amount. Usually rating downgrades are more political than they are really an economic impact.
Any other questions? Anybody?
Just glad to have you, Tyler. I know I heard Dave's going to bankrupt the city, so heard that somewhere a time or two.
Why is it always the mayor?
I have a question. May I continue? May I ask them?
Go ahead. Yes.
So would this be something that like council would use, or is this something that really like staff would be utilizing to make recommendations to us?
Sure.
Or is it something that we can all get our hands on and play around with and try different scenarios and type in different?
So our plan with it, I'll field that question. Our plan is, as Tyler and them were able to build out the model with the information that council's already seen as far as from CIP. He's building that out, get that finished, and then probably sometime March, April of 2019, we'll do a workshop before we get staff started on the budget to go through that. Tyler will be here with us to where we can turn things on, turn things off, let's do this project, not that project, what's the impact look like, and run through those scenarios to get some feedback from council as far as, okay, as we head into 1920, these are the priorities, this is what we want to see. So that way we can take that along with the budget request from staff from the operational standpoint and build that budget for you. So now that Tyler and his crew have this is something I see us doing every year prior to budget as we move forward. So that way y'all have a true picture of, hey, I want to do this. Oh, I can't afford that, and here's why. So maybe we need to look at these other things, or we need to hold off because we still think this one thing is priority number one. We can't do it yet, so we've got to either build up revenues or decrease expenditure so we can get to that point. So I would imagine that this is something that we're using on an ongoing basis, but the first time getting back with council is probably going to be early spring as we prepare for the 1920 fiscal year.
Is it an Excel spreadsheet?
Yep, it is an Excel spreadsheet, so it's highly customizable. We have these models that are just for utility systems. They're just for general fund. We do them for school consolidations. They're really versatile.
So we've already done this without the spreadsheet. We've figured out when we're going into the next year, we can't afford this. Is it because we went to him and he came back 3 weeks later and told we couldn't? Or is there something that we've taken stuff out of the budget because we figured out we couldn't afford it? This just tells us now immediately as we're sitting there and we can keep discussing other things.
Generally, what we've had to do in the past is, what are our revenues? What are our expenditures? Here's what we can afford.
Right.
It's not a plan for next year, 3 years from now, 5
It's
years
right
from
now.
now, and what those impacts are. It's for what can we do next year.
Right.
So this tool allows council to be able to start setting some priorities as far as projects, capital improvements, things like that. We'll do it in a group setting with department heads. That gives y'all the opportunity to ask them questions about things within their areas. And then be able to make decisions to direct us to, all right, this is number one, this is two, and this is three. And then we go and work with Tyler if it is debt related, if it's operational related, and just figure out those budgets so that we can bring them back to you in a budget workshop.
I think this is really cool. I'm really excited to see this play out more with real numbers and get my hands on it. But I also see it, projecting forward and taking a look at what does the community want and what are the things we want to invest in and what are the different funding mechanisms we would have to take to get there. And so I guess as anxious as I get wanting to plug in what I think and where I want things to go, is there a public interfacing option where we could put it out there and the public can try and play around with different options? And
you wouldn't have the public playing around with this. I mean, as you've seen, as Tyler made changes, I mean, you've got all kinds of multiple cells linked together and it's going to change things. But as far as getting public input, as far as your capital improvements plan and things like that, we can absolutely schedule those as we go into the new calendar year. Prior to getting to this, through surveys and things like that. That's basically what we've done in the past, plus taking input from your staff as far as what's needed to run their department. So if there are specific things or specific input you're looking from the public, we can absolutely facilitate that. I don't know that this is something you want to hang on the website, though, just for people to start monkeying around with.
yeah.
A few clicks and I can break it very quickly. So.
Yeah, if we hand it out, it's usually it's generally to staff. Maybe we've got a council member that wants to take a look at it. And what we'll do is we'll lock the entire back of it, because if somebody goes in and makes one change to a formula and then all of a sudden it says no tax impact in 2 years, you say, oh gosh, I mean, it's our model. At the end of the day, we're giving you advice based on it. So we like to be able to ensure the quality of the financial model. But it's built to be interactive. That's what makes it so terrific, is that if you want to have a budget workshop, if you want to run a number of different scenarios, it is not a tremendous amount of work for us to do that any longer, where it used to take hours and hours and hours to run all the numbers and show you the results. We can sit in front of you, throw it up on the screen, and just do what ifs all day long.
Sweet.
Strategy and planning.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
Are you finished?
This is all I've got.
Well, thank you very much. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Tyler.
all your effort. You've always been very fair and honest with us, it's good sound advice to tell us what we need to know when we know it. If we can't afford something, he's not afraid to tell us we can't afford something, so we appreciate that.
Perfect. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, can we go ahead and put my slide up? Tim, are you there? I want to put up my slide real fast before we move on. There's some people watching at home, and there's people here that wanted to know about how we get our budget solved and what goes into a budget, what comes out, what we can pay for, and what we can't. And I see my slide is about as small as Tyler's was. So let me just start with the middle. In the middle, it says general fund. That's where all the tax revenue goes into. That's property taxes, that's business taxes, business license, inspections, permit fees, state shared revenues, recreation money, county recreation money, and then any other money we get that goes in there. Is that about covered everything? Everything basically we get goes into that general fund. And that's how we operate the city. And in that general fund, we have to spend certain things. Obviously, we pay for public safety, police, fire, the day-to-day operations, the salaries of our employees, the insurance of our employees, the pensions of our employees, which the insurance and pensions we were mandated by the state to raise this year. Our contribution was required to go up this year. So it's general operations and capital improvements go in there. And so it could be anything. We could put anything in there that runs the city. And when we have something that is going up, something costs more, we have to raise taxes. We have to find additional revenues to pay for these things. And as you know from your home budget, things are constantly going up. We're growing as a city. The pace of growth has outstripped our means to pay for growth. You probably heard me say this for 3.5 years. Growth doesn't pay for growth. It doesn't. When a house starts and a brand new house comes online in January, they're using our schools, they're using our fire, they're using our police. They don't pay taxes, they pay taxes in arrears, so they don't pay taxes for the next year. So we don't have any way to pay for stuff in the future for them. We got to think ahead. Just like your schools, when the person moves into a brand new house that first day, they go to school. They haven't paid one dime in school taxes yet. See, they pay in arrears. Not till the following January 5th or 6th do they pay taxes. So we're always having some needed things that we got to pay for. So on the little circle would be your right, the H tax. That's the 2% tax. I'm sorry, our left, your right. Whatever it is, the H tax. That's a 2% tax on prepared food and drinks. And the money that goes in there can only be used for recreation, for tourism promotion. We use it for 4th of July, food truck activities, things like that. We can't take any of the money out of H tax and build a fire station. We can't take any money out of the H tax and give our people a raise. That can only be used for certain things. Now let's look at the other one, the impact fee. That started August 7th. That's for growth to pay for growth. Finally, growth will pay. When people build a new house, at the time they buy their permit, they get their permit, they pay us $6,600. That goes into a fund for parks, police, and fire. That can be used to build new things. That can be used to build new police stations or pay for that debt on it, or fire stations or parks. So when we build a Catawba Park, the impact fees are going to come into, they're going to play a big part in that. They're going to help pay for our police. They're going to help pay for our fire. So that's our 3 sources of funding. So recently, when we did our budget, we found out we had a shortfall. We couldn't afford some of the things we wanted. So just like your budget, you have to throw some things out and think of some other ways to pay for it. So we had 3 new firemen come on board, and 2 other people in city staff someplace, and we had some piece of heavy equipment, and we had to start a new police station that everybody seemed to wanted. We asked in the survey, do you want a police station? And overwhelmingly, they said yes. I think we should have asked the question, do you want a new police station if you have to pay for it? Because I think people thought police stations were free. I think people think that people work for free, that people don't want to get a salary. They just come to work for free. Those people all have to be paid. The police drive little police cars that have to be bought. So we had to figure out a way to pay for it. Business and residents all pay into that fund. Before, residents paid into the fund, they got trash as part of that fund. Businesses didn't. Businesses paid into that, and then they paid for their own trash. And they always wondered, why are they paying for trash twice? People have come up to me saying, now we're paying for trash twice because we're taking it out of the budget and doing it for individuals. And we're not. That's what businesses used to do. You could call Signature Waste and say, hey, are we paying for you twice now? Do we double our payments to you? They'll say no. They didn't. So you're only paying for trash once. That's the fee that you're paying in your, what's it called, the utility bill now. We had to move that out of the general fund so that people who use it will have to pay for it alone. That's how we raised the extra $700,000 we needed to run the city. We could have raised taxes. We haven't done that in 9 years. To do that, we raised taxes on everyone. That would be both residents and businesses. But we decided our best use was best way to raise money to pay for this police station, to pay the debt on the fire station, and to pay for the additional personnel and the additional pension and insurance was to pull out the garbage fee and have everybody pay their own garbage fee. That was a unanimous decision on our own. We thought it was the best way to do it. That way businesses pay for their own trash like they've been doing forever, and now people pay for their own trash. So that's just the way we thought. 5 of us unanimously figured that out, and that's what we did. We are all 5 intelligent individuals up here. Some have master's degrees, some are entrepreneurs, some are just great. They've been working in the same business 30 or 40 years. They all know how to run a budget. We didn't go and raise our hand and get sworn in and all became stupid all of a sudden. We debated about this for 8 months, 10 months. We tried to figure out the best way to do this. And we all, to a person, said this is the best way to do it. So that's what we did. Now then, can you opt out of the garbage fee? Well, maybe someday you can. We've got the trash fee set up on contract that we pay a certain amount. And when is that contract up? 2021, 2022?
September 30th, 2022.
Okay, in 2022, maybe we do that. Your trash fee won't be $14.80 though. See, right now, Signature Waste contract for us to do all 4,200 homes at $14.80. If they have to start saying, okay, we're not going to do this neighborhood or that neighborhood, and we're going to bill separately, we're going to let them bill separately, because right now we pay one bill, $750,000 or so a year, one bill. If they have to start billing all of you individually, then they're going to have to hire 8 or 9 or more people. So it'll be 4,200 bills go out every month, 51,000 bills go out a year. They're not going to be able to do it for $14.80. They've got to get more people to do their billing. They're going to have to figure out who's paid their bill, and they need to go pick them up, and who hasn't paid their bill and don't pick them up. So you're not going to get trash for $14.80. It's probably going to be about $6 more, which is the average trash rate for other municipalities. You're probably going to be $20 a month. So if you want to be billed separately and have the option to opt out when this contract is up, that's something we should consider. If that's what you want, because we run this city for you, if that's what you want, we'll do it. Plain and simple. Now for the glass. There's no money in recycling glass anymore. I don't know why. That we've been told that to get ready for that for a couple of years. If you go to Google and Google recycle glass, you'll see that for the past 3 years, municipalities stopped doing it. There's no money on it. I don't know how Signature Waste could afford to do that before, but they can't anymore. I guess there's only money if it's separated in advance, that you have to go like the European model. When I lived in Europe in 2000, we had to take our green glass, our brown glass, our clear glass, and all that and separate them. Well, we put everything in one big can, and when it gets dumped into the trash can, things break. It all gets all intermingled and stuff, and they sort that out. And people aren't, the little pieces of glass this big is now considered contaminated if it's mixed with regular trash. So they won't take it. There's just no money. This city of San Francisco doesn't do glass recycling, and many other municipalities don't. That's not our decision. Of course, we would love to have it all done at $14.80, but it can't be done anymore. There's just no money in it. And if you can find somebody who does, let us know. When it comes time for a contract, we'll do that. So that's all I got to say about trash. I think that's the big 3 questions I've been asked. And anybody have any questions or comments about that? I've explained that as simple as I can. We have the 3 funds, and there's only certain things we can do with certain monies. I think the impact fee will help us tremendously. If we would have had impact fee 4 years ago, we wouldn't even be talking about this police station anymore. We would probably been able to pay cash for that, or pretty darn close. Okay? Well, thank you for your attention. Let's move on to item number 2, which is public comments. Let's see who signed up. Valerie Soprano signed up. Please step forward. And you want to talk about garbage. Excellent. Please state your name, rank, serial number, I'm just kidding, name and your address, and then you have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Valerie Soprano, and I live at 11150 Scullers Run, obviously in TKK. I will begin by starting to say that I'm grateful that we were not hit by the hurricane. I appreciate everything that the city staff did to get us ready should something happen. And I also want to comment that I understand all of you put in a lot of time and effort trying to do what's right for the city. I have not stood up here and spoken at a meeting since the 3rd annual TKK Mayor's Cup. My husband and I were the co-tournament directors the first 3 years, and I came just to explain what we were doing and how much money we made. I am here today because I am uncomfortable with the garbage decision. And I know you worked hard. I know some of you have master's degree. I have a master's degree also, and I have dealt with budgets for a long time. I feel that when you pay for a utility, you pay for usage. I pay for the amount of water I use. I pay for the amount of electricity. I pay for the amount of gas that I use. I feel that I should do the same for garbage. I am a family of 2. I should not have to pay the same amount as a person that has a family of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. I understand that you say we're going to start in October with the $14.80 fee. I have never heard of an end date. You're saying you need $5 million initially for the police station. I think we definitely need a police station. I would have written a check if you came around and said we all need to pay for a police station, because that's a necessity. I'm now hearing you need that amount of money potentially for the police station, maybe for a fire truck, maybe for the disc golf area, maybe for a croquet court. I think when you do a budget, you have to talk about exactly each line item, and I think things are starting to get a little bit muddied. I don't believe our community should act the way Baxter does, where anybody could use any garbage company, because you have garbage cans out every day of the week and it looks ugly. But I do believe we should have a choice. I don't generate a lot of garbage. I could chip in with 2 of my neighbors and we would still have 1 can of garbage. So I just feel it's not equitable. And the last thing I guess I want to bring up is I think you need to check legally your facts about, if I don't pay my water bill, you're not going to stop picking up my garbage. And I don't think legally, if I don't pay my garbage bill, you can stop my water. I have not finished checking all of the research on that, and hopefully you have it as well. So I hope you will reconsider what's happening with the garbage. If the impact fees don't go through and our taxes have to go up, well, then maybe that's the right way to do it, because then it's equitable based on the size of our.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everything. Are there any more public comments? Maybe somebody who didn't have a chance to sign up and wants to say something real fast. Okay, then let's move on to item number 3, which is the approval of minutes. Council, you have seen the minutes. Are there any changes or concerns before we pass them? Seeing none, hearing none, the minutes are approved as they stand. Item number 4, which is committee reports. First is the Planning Commission. Is that Alicia?
Yes.
It is, thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor, members of council, and community for being here. On September 4th, we had our Planning Commission meeting, and it was a great meeting. Thank you to Susan Britt, who's the staff liaison for that. She does a great job, and thank you for our chair, Chris Leonard, for being here. We appreciate your support. Just wanted to provide a few updates for you all on what happened at the meeting and what's some things that are to come. So in terms of action that was taken at the meeting, The Planning Commission did approve the final plat for Cadence Map 3. So now that will come to City Council for approval, given the letter of credit, along with a letter of credit approval as well.
If when they get it right, probably by next month.
Okay, next month. We did do that, so that is forthcoming. We also reviewed and updated the work plan reviewed and updated the work plan for the balance of 2018. And I wanted to share some of the things that you'll be seeing up on the agenda coming soon. One is the small telecommunications cell tower ordinance. This was something that we had discussed earlier in the year that some of us learned about at the Municipal Association conference in February. They are reviewing that. They are proposing that they'll have a draft ordinance to review in October, and then that will come to City Council for our first read in November. So be paying attention to that, and if you need any specific details, feel free to reach out to me or Susan Britt as well. And we are following the original recommendation, but just tailoring it to our city. They also discussed a checklist for PDD. In terms of when PDDs come in front of the Planning Commission, they want to have a checklist so that they start in the right direction with developers. So they're working on that, such as how do we ensure lower density, larger lot sizes, setbacks, parking, street parking, trails, amenities, things like that. So that's forthcoming as well. They discussed the bike pedestrian master plan. They're hoping to finalize this by October. And then this will also be incorporated into the comp plan that gets updated in 2019. And the last thing that we discussed in terms of adding to the work plan is auxiliary dwelling units. I believe these are like mother-in-law suites, yes. So currently our city ordinance does not address that, so they are working on figuring out whether or not we address that and to what extent in our city ordinance. Some additional things that they're adding to the 2018-2019 work plan. One would be community outreach requirements for developers. So I think this is really important. So making it a requirement when developers come in and say that they want to do X development or Y development, they have to, or they would be required per our ordinance to hold a community event where they would advertise the event. They would have folks come in from the community. They'd be able to ask questions. They'd potentially be able to see renderings and actually receive feedback ahead of City Council and the Planning Commission approving that development. Another thing we discussed was we added was the architectural standards for future PDD, which I discussed that a little bit. Architectural standards would be like requiring like brick facades or a certain type of lighting or fixtures. So certain types of fencing. And so they're going to take a look at that specifically to the PDD, PUD, and MXD developments. They're discussing environmental sustainability standards, so if there's anything that they want to put specifically to environmental concerns or whatnot, if they want to be a certain lead, require lead or whatnot, they could do that. They're going to take a look at that. Overlay districts, they'll also be discussing placemaking in pocket neighborhoods. I think that's it. So lots to do. Lots going on. That was actually a short one. That was actually a short one. So lots going on at the Planning Commission meetings. I do encourage folks to come. If you're interested in what happens on all of those, related topics, you are welcome to come to our next meeting, which is scheduled for October 1st at 6:30. They are the first Monday of every month, given there's not a holiday on that day. And they start at 6:30 right here in this room. So I encourage you guys, 6:30? So I encourage you all to come and get involved and provide us with your feedback and your input. We'd greatly appreciate it.
Is it also televised?
It's not televised, but I know that minutes are
It's
recorded.
taped. For
So
later viewing.
No, it's for minutes.
No video, just, we record the audio for minutes, and then the minutes are hung online. Yes, sir.
And I will say that Susan also updated us in terms of the Stonecrest area development, that only one parcel is left that's not under contract. So, and that was as of September 14th. So that was really cool. So I'm excited to see what ends up happening in that area. Yeah. That's it.
Any questions? All right, planning. Thanks, Chris, for everything you do on planning. I know it's a lot of work. We appreciate all you do, but that's why you get the big bucks. Item 4B is the TK Forever Fund.
All right, so mine isn't as extensive as that was. Ours meeting was relatively short compared to that. So what happened this past Monday, September 10th, in the TKK Forever meeting, established a timeline for a few things, one being the subcommittee, so things like financing, events, different kinds of committees that will help the TKK Forever as we kind of move towards Catawba Park and get closer to that goal. Corporate engagement, so when are we going to start engaging corporations, going out and requesting those sponsorships? What does that look like? Who is going to be on those committees? Things like that. Community activation, so at what point do we then bring the community on board and get resident involvement? So those timelines were all discussed to obviously get us to groundbreaking at a certain point in the future. So I'm glad that things are progressing there. The plan is to possibly do a corporate gala early Q1 next year. So we will invite all of those folks who we want them to get on board with Catawba Park for some kind of naming rights. So when we talk about corporate sponsorships, we could ask them for a certain amount, and that amount could go towards naming a baseball field, for example, to a pavilion, to even something as, well, we won't ask corporate sponsorships for this, but as park bench, or at resident level, just like we did in the Memorial Gardens, a brick, something so that everybody can really be involved at every level, so that we can get to our long-term goal, so that we can make Catawba Park a reality. And then at the Fall Festival this year, which will take place in October, the TKK Forever Foundation folks, they will be in shirts that say "Ask Me," and I'll have the Catawba Park, our new logo that was just approved for Catawba Park. So that way we can. Last year they had a really cool booth and they took all these awesome pictures, but it was a little pricey, and so this year we're doing something different so we can still get out there, and they'll be mingling basically with the residents to share that information so that everybody can be up to speed on what's going on with Catawba Park and what is going on with TK Forever. And then we're just finalizing materials from Lemons, and so we should have that any time now if we don't already have it. So that's about it. Any questions?
Are they selling the shirts? No. Sorry.
I pushed for that, but that was shut down quickly.
Okay.
Any questions, Gus? Ryan? All right, let's move on to item number 5, unfinished business. This is the second reading of an ordinance for the receipt of revenues and the accounting of expenditures for fiscal year 2018-29 budgets. Pull this up so I can read it. All right, this is our second reading of an ordinance necessary to set the budgets for fiscal year 2018-2019 that were presented by the city manager during the required public hearing at the start of the meeting. There is no millage increase included in this fiscal year. So no taxes are being raised. When we raise tax rates on everybody, and this does not raise taxes. However, this is the $14.80 fee that came out of the budget, and it's going to be sent to individuals to pay for individual trash collection. Anybody have any questions or comments? Are we doing comments after? I can't remember now. After? Okay. Are there any public comments? We've heard from from Valerie. Anybody else want to make any comments before we read our budget into a session? None? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading of an ordinance to provide for the budgets of the city of TK for fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2018, and ending September 20th, 2019? September 20th? Okay, September 30th, 2019, to provide the receipt and expenditure of funds and other matters related hereto.
I have a motion from Ryan Richard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Alicia Dash. Any comments or questions before we vote?
Yes, I do want to make some comments before we vote, if that's okay. I want to thank you all for coming. I know why several of you are here. Thank you, Valerie, for standing up and sharing your feedback with us. So I've taken some time over the past few weeks to read over many of the comments that people have posted on social media, which I definitely don't recommend doing. One of them actually said taxation without representation. So I completed my undergrad in history. I'm very familiar with the American Revolution, and in fact, I took an entire course on it. I can promise you we are not the tyrannical government that we have been made out to be. As we've mentioned, this is something that has been discussed for over a year. I actually did a video last year while I was on the campaign trail in front of the police station on this exact topic before the election. We reviewed every possible option in detail and came to this conclusion based on facts and data. Over the past 10 years, so since 2008, we have added a total number of 1,675 dwellings and an estimated 4,300 people within city limits. We have added an additional 1,500 dwellings that were previously approved that haven't even been built yet. As we've mentioned, the city has not raised taxes for the past 9 years. We've had no real improvements into infrastructure or city services outside of the fire station during that time. The reallocation of $700,000 in change from our general funds allows us to do some of the things we have neglected or put a Band-Aid on for many years. We realize how difficult this is. This is not a decision I take lightly, and I know they don't either. But I know it's what needs to be done. We care and love this place we call home, just like you do. Whether you agree with this decision or not, I hope you understand the difficulty that it came to get here, and you understand how and why we came to the decision that we did. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Very eloquent, I should say. All right, it's time to vote. All in favor signify by raising your hand and saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous again. Item number 6 is new business. Item 6A, introduction of a first reading of an ordinance relating to the recovery of collection cost as a part of delinquent debts collected pursuant to the Set-Off Debt Collections Act. There's a mouthful. The city is currently participating in the Set-Off Debt Collections Act. The Municipal Association acts on our behalf to collect on debts owed to the city and has requested that all participants adopt their new model ordinance. Where this has been used for the city in the past is when someone moves out of TK and has an outstanding balance on their utility bill. The city turns that information over to the Municipal Association and they collect the debt on our behalf, including all penalties and charges from the association for the service. The funds owed to the city are then remitted to us. It is not something that occurs very frequently, but when the city has had to use it in the past, it has been very useful. Are there any questions about this? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, I'd like to make a motion to approve the introduction and first reading of an ordinance relating to the recovery of the collection costs as part of delinquent debts collected pursuant to the Set-Off Debt Collections Act.
I have a motion from Heather Overman. Do I have a second? Second. Second from Ryan Richard. Any questions before we vote? Any comments before we vote? Seeing none, hearing none. Time to vote. Please signify if you're for it. Please signify by raising your hand and saying aye.
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 All opposed? It's unanimous. Let's go to 6B. Let me catch up here on the old computer. All right, 6B is a resolution to authorize the Municipal Association of South Carolina to act as claimant agency for the collection of debt on behalf of the city of TK in accordance with the Set-Off Debt Collection Act. The resolution is necessary to authorize the Municipal Association to act on the city's behalf in collection of debts owed to the city pursuant to the Set-Off Collection Act as specified in the ordinance that was just introduced in the previous agenda item. Simple as that, huh? Any questions? Any comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I've been quiet. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the Municipal Association of South Carolina to act as claimant agency for the collection of debts on behalf of the city of TK in accordance with the Set-Off Debt Collection Act.
I have a motion from Gus Muccinis. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Brian Richard. All those in favor signify. Oh, you have any questions? Anybody have any comments?
No.
There are, if you, okay, we'll vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. All right, we'll go to item 7, City Manager's Report. City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As I think it's been noted a couple times, damage to TKK from Florence was very minimal. I would like to take this time to thank Chief Parker and his staff, Chief Samansky and our firefighters, Tim Gillette and Philip Jolly. Tim is our operations director, Philip Jolly is our utility directors, and all of our maintenance and utility staff. Katie Polson and Lacey Armstrong for all they did to have us ready for the storm and communicating to our residents with updates throughout the weekend. They all did a fantastic job, pulled a lot of long hours for what amounted to, at least here, some wind and rain. We were very, very fortunate compared to our neighbors both in this county as well as you move east. One thing I do want to brag about, according to what we heard today from City of Rock Hill, TKK is the only system around here that did not experience any SSOs, sanitary sewer overflows. I don't know that I would have believed that 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
We used to get that with half an inch.
Yes, sir. We survived 6 inches of rain in a 48-hour window without a single SSO. Definitely gives me a lot of peace of mind that the $6.7 million we spent from the state revolving fund worked. We still had to pump and haul, but only for 8 hours out of our equalization tank over by hole number 2. But given that amount of rain and only having to do that for 8 hours, extremely proud of our utility staff, Philip Jolly, our assistant utilities director, Antonio Maturo, and the work they've done along with their staff. That was probably the thing I was most worried about. Trees first, sewer second, and we came out okay. So great job to those folks. We did have to reschedule the food truck rally. Good thing is, not canceled, just moved to April. So we'll get 5 shows next year instead of 4. So just keep an eye on that, but hate that we weren't able to have it. We tried like crazy to get schedules aligned between now and the end of October and just weren't able to make it work. So we went ahead and pushed it to April so that we could pick up an extra show for next year. Police station, since we've talked about that a good bit tonight, on and off. Right now, they're scheduled to begin the week of September 24th, give or take a few days to a week there. Waiting on DHEC to issue the final go-ahead on the grading permit. They're a little busy right now, so we're trying to get that pushed through so we can get things started. With that, crepe myrtles in that first median, they're going to come out. I think we get left with maybe 3 to maybe 5 of them, okay? So there's a big chunk of those crepe myrtles got to come out because of a turn lane that's got to be installed. The holly trees that are up above the retaining wall, we're actually able to save those. We're getting those dug out, balled and burlap. We're going to set those aside, and once construction's finished, we'll repurpose those. So we are going to lose some crepe myrtles. Not going to lose all of them, but we fought for the ones that we are able to keep. Biggest thing is, once construction starts, they are going to be starting on TK Drive, installing that turn lane and getting the access for what will be the patrol lot. Just be mindful of the work zones as you're going in and out of TKK. Slow down. Be cautious as you're going through there. Let's see, a couple quick things. National Night Out, October 2nd, 2018. Two locations, Lake Ridge from 5 to 7 and TKK Elementary School from 6 to 8. Go to both, go to one. It should be a great time. There'll be food, entertainment. Our police officers, our firefighters will be out there. Always makes for a great night, so we hope everybody can get to that. I've got one big thing, so let me hit this last small thing. I will be out Monday through Wednesday and next week at the ICMA conference. I will be counsel available via email, text. But if you need something urgent, Katie will be holding down City Hall. Feel free to call her as much as you want. She may kill me once she hears that on the recording tomorrow. But
Can you remind me what her number is?
yes, 555. No, I'm just kidding. So last but not least, council, I shared this with you via email earlier today, but do hope to get some direction from you either this evening or hopefully here in the near future. We were notified the middle of last week that Fort Mill is increasing their water rate to us. So that affects TCUD 1 and TCUD 2. They can only charge us 30 cents more per 1,000 gallons than what Rock Hill is charging them. So they're passing that increase through to us. Typically, this comes in, usually we get this notification in April, May timeframe, and then we put it into effect. We do ordinance amendment June, July. They let us know the week, a few days before, second read of our budget that you just completed tonight. It's a 20 cents per 1,000 gallon increase, all right? That's going to affect your, if you're TCUD 1 customers, it would show an increase to them by approximately $1.06 on the average bill, based on what usage is. On a TCUD 2 bill, it's an increase of about 96 cents per month on their bill. And again, that's all based on usage. Based on what Rock Hill told us several years ago, and they have held true, we have 2 rate increases left that'll be passed through from Rock Hill between now and 2022. This 20 cents and then a scheduled 20 cents for July 1st of 2019. And then Rock Hill has no more scheduled rate increases. The rate increases they've been passing through is to pay for their plant expansions to add water capacity and sewer capacity. We have, I know David and Ryan, Mayor and Ryan remember, we've just passed through exactly what our increase has been. Our margins have stayed the exact same. So we're not making any more off of than what we were before. If you do, I would recommend that we wait until April for it to go into effect. And we do 40 cents. It would capture what we're missing right now. So you're going to have a revenue loss in October of approximately $6,000. In November, about $5,600. In December, it's another $4,100. Obviously, usage drops during those times. If we wait, if council waits and does a budget amendment in, let's see, February, March to go into effect April 1 and just go ahead and do the 40 cents at that time, you recapture the lost, what we've lost on the front end, and you balance out as you go through the rest of the fiscal year. Then you're only doing one amendment versus doing an amendment now, doing an amendment come summertime. So it's completely up to council. I know as y'all have heard repeatedly over the last couple of weeks, it's coming on the heels of adding trash and recycle fee. I get it. It's horrific timing. In analyzing things with Bob Barkin, our finance director, we feel like if council wants to wait and do this in April or have it go into effect in April, we absolutely can. But I just need some direction as to whether I'm bringing you a budget amendment for first read next month for October, November, and it goes into effect in December, or do you want to wait until and do that in February, March, let it go into effect in April?
Charlie, when are we doing the water study?
Water study will kick off in October. I do not have an ETA on when that will be finalized. Our anticipation was to get the study back in time to prepare for the 1920 fiscal year.
Okay, I know it won't make a difference for the direct pass-through, but would that potentially change things?
One of the biggest things one thing we will get from the rate study is the opportunity to build into doing a volumetric sewer rate for TCUD 2 versus the flat monthly rate.
Right.
It will allow some of those folks for their bills to come down, and some folks are going to see their bill go up based on their usage. They're going to be looking at every single one of our utility fees. So it'll be looking at our base rates. It'll be looking at our volumetric rates as compared to debt, days cash on hand, reserve funds, all of our rate covenants and things like that. So they'll analyze the full financial picture and then recommend rates. Council doesn't have to go with those rates. We can work through it in the budget process to kind of walk into some of those rates over a few years and things like that. But when that will happen, I'm hopeful that it'll be probably May timeframe that we're getting that back.
Based on that, I think personally that a one amendment would be a better, based on your recommendation and what you just said.
Okay.
A one amendment
And that would be
better.
what we call it a dollar cost average.
Basically,
You're
if we do the 40 cents, you're going to be about $1.75 between the two average. You're about $1.75 per month on that 40 cents.
So for the first couple of months, we're losing money. and then we catch up in the latter months
Correct. And makes your budget whole, yes, sir.
versus 2 rate increases.
20 cents now and 20 cents, come summertime, yes, sir.
Well, I can sure argue either way. If we're going to have to do 40 anyway, it might make more sense to do 20, and then 20 makes it easier for people to accept. But, well, it's ends up being 40 cents.
Right.
If you charge them 20 now and then 20 later, or versus just 40 all at one time. I can argue either way, I guess.
I'd like to rip the Band-Aid off once.
And that's May?
We would bring you a budget amendment, first read in February, second read in March. It would go into effect in April.
Anybody out there want to comment on
And
that?
if things are trending positively in utilities, if we can delay it, another month, we will. We'll continue to monitor that. Right
Even
now, we
water
feel
goes
very
up,
comfortable.
folks. Everything goes up. It's just,
I guess,
you'd rather do it once?
well, I'm okay either way. I wouldn't mind getting some feedback from the community, but in terms of what they prefer, it's gonna happen regardless. But I think what we need to just be mindful of is our messaging out to the community and how we not only introduce the topic, but talk about that, and the means that we go forward doing so. So I would just,
Well, if we
sure we're
push it
ready.
until 2019, it definitely gives us an opportunity to communicate that and let folks know.
I say,
that's not an
let
issue.
Facebook and Nextdoor decide.
Perfect.
Let me know what they
They do
determine.
such a good job already. All right, anything else, City Manager? All right.
That's it. Thank
Item
you.
number 8 is council comments. As always, we start with the lovely Ryan Richard.
Just talk about communication and things going out. I know when Dave and I ran, one of the things that we pushed for was transparency in our government and making sure that the citizens knew what was going on, because, we thought it was lacking there. At that point, I think the city webpage or Facebook page had 1,100 followers. Now you're over 6,000? And each department now has its own Facebook page to push things out. You have council members and members of committees here giving their input and just trying to give the citizens all the information that they can take. And, it's on the citizens of the city to decide to hear it or to commit themselves to come here or to give us feedback, positive feedback. And I believe this because of, one certain reason or another versus, what was one? I saw the idiots we elected. I'm pretty sure there's none of those up here. But, I have thick skin. None of that bothers me at all. But it's the level of communication and transparency from our city, our staff, your council members, and not busting on the guys, back then, because obviously social media has grown over the years, but the level of communication has grown so immensely over the last 2 years that the information that you're looking for is there to be had. All you need to do is look for it or ask the question, or our phones are always on, emails on, all that good stuff. It's there for the taking, and so I'll quit on that.
Alicia?
cool. Thank you, Ryan. I have a couple things. First of all, I want to thank the mayor for adding Childhood Cancer Awareness Month to the agenda to recognize that. My sister had leukemia growing up, and it really, fortunately, she recovered from it. And I just remember growing up and the impact that had on our family. And so I really appreciate the fact that we're recognizing that and what we do in the community, putting up the ribbons. And so thank you for recognizing that, and completely agree. I hope that and support new cures, healthier outcomes, and a brighter future for America's youth. So thank you for that.
We do have a Tega citizen in Nashville at St. Jude's currently. It's Sydney Aquilino, lives on Point Clear, fighting leukemia.
Prayers going out to Sydney. The second thing I want to do is just echo the great work on storm response. Great job to the city manager. Thank you so much for keeping us updated, and all the work that you and the chiefs and public safety, public works, Tim, Phillip, everyone did a great job. But what I also really want to take a moment to recognize the residents of Tega K, because you also did a great job. I saw so many messages on Facebook, people trying to give folks tips, updates, people asking neighbors if they're okay, people going out into the streets and clearing storm drains, and all of that really makes a difference. So great job to the residents too, because ultimately that, you know, our city staff can do as much as they can, but if we don't listen and follow their direction, we can get ourselves in trouble. So great job to everyone in the community. And then lastly, I'll just add, a lot of work went into the budget, and the mayor summed up a lot of great things. Heather, thank you. The managers presented on it several times. A significant amount of work went into the budget process, and unfortunately, it resulted in we all have to pay more. We all have to contribute. But I think that a lot of hard work and dedication, and ultimately the right decision came from it. And just to address one of it's referenced in terms of how much trash do you use. So if you fill up your bin or don't fill up your bin, you still get a bin, and you have the opportunity to fill up a bin. So if you're looking out for an individual, that's one thing, but when you're looking out for the entire community, and that is what we have to do, is look out for the entire community, it becomes different, right? So everyone still receives the same level of service, whether or not you choose to use that. So I just wanted to add that as well. But thank you to the manager for balanced budget, thank you to staff for all their hard work, and thank you to council for all of your hard work in getting us to this place. So tough decision, but great work.
Thank you. Mr. Gus.
Mr. Mayor, first, let me say happy birthday to you one more time, and I'd also like to thank you for the Childhood Cancer Awareness Proclamation. My daughter is a pediatric oncology nurse at Levine Children's Hospital, so she has a special place in my heart, and so does the field that she's chosen, so thank you for doing that. Charlie, please tell Fort Mill and Rock Hill, you know, great timing on the increase. We appreciate that, and tell the world about the recycle crisis. Once again, good timing. Not making jokes about it, we had two choices, in my opinion, and I think we made the right one. Val, thank you for coming down to speak. With the things that have been on social media and the emails and phone calls and texts, I really thought there'd be 1,000 people here with pitchforks and torches waiting to see us. So thank you. You make great points. I also want to thank all the city employees and public works and first responders for their long hours and hard work and staying away from their families when others were able to stay home and be worried about theirs. I thought everybody did an outstanding job. And let's don't forget to say some prayers for those that got hit a whole heck of a lot worse than we did. This is pretty tragic for a whole lot of people. Lastly, I mentioned last time, I don't know, Charlie, we got any traction at all in possibly getting somebody to come talk to us about expanding council and things like looking at districts?
Yes, sir. Looking right now either at your November or December meeting, just trying to coordinate schedules.
Thank you very much.
We'll have somebody, I believe it'll be Scott Slatton here from the Municipal Association.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm quick, so happy birthday, David.
Thank you.
You're like 29.
39, but
Oh, okay.
I look 29.
Yeah.
I
And
get that.
thank you to our city staff and all of the hard work. I know everybody said it, but really awesome job. I think TK is probably one of the best places around. You guys really set the bar really high. So I'm glad that we avoided much of the storm, but it's always best to be over-prepared, and I think we all were. I'll be donating all of my bunker food to the American Red Cross, so I could probably feed like another 16 people with that. So thanks again, and that's all I have.
Well, to wrap it up, I too would like to thank the first responders. I know they worked a lot of overtime for just in case. That's how they do things. A lady asked me when I was talking to her about the trash fee, she said, can she opt out of the fire department fee? I know that sometimes you don't think you need it, but here they were ready to come out. The police and the fire were ready to come out, standing by on a moment's notice. They all worked overtime. They all worked extra hours, and nothing happened, or not much happened. We lost a couple trees. That's great. But the big story is the SSOs. I've lived here long enough to know it. Every time it rained, you were going to get sewage in the lake, and we didn't get that. I mean, that to me is amazing. I can remember back 6 years when we were called Tega Poo, because if it rained, how many kids were seen on live television swimming in a lake right behind a sign that says no swimming, contaminated, or something like that? You remember that? Those were your kids? And that hasn't been that long ago. So we had 6, 7 inches and not a spill. Unbelievable. So tell Philip, take Sunday off. He deserves it. We appreciate everything he did. Finally, I want you all to keep Billy Taylor in your prayers. She is hospitalized. She just recently played in the baseball game, the police versus the firemen. She had the highest batting average. She beat Chief Parker. She batted better than he did. But really think about her. She's had some kind of brain swelling. She's in the hospital. So we hope and pray for her to get better right away. And I don't think I have anything else. With that, I will entertain a motion for, do you have step up. Go ahead. We won't be able to hear you. I got just as bad at ears as I do eyes.
Just a quick question. The city has survived, but we do have a lot of refuse on the streets, leaves and so on. Will the city do a pickup before the October leaf pickup?
As far as a loose leaf collection? Or-
We have pine needles all over.
Right. Yeah, they're as they continue to clean, they'll be working around with the with leaf
They will
vac
still
truck,
do
trying to
that.
suck up some
Okay.
of that debris and everything,
That's all. Thank you.
and get it blown up back into the woods if necessary. Yes, sir.
I did want to add, I did notice this morning before I even had a chance to leave work, the leaf truck was on my street cleaning out the gutter, so I was super grateful for that. So I'm sure they'll be around. They're out there. They're working hard.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, members of council, motion to adjourn.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I'll second. We're adjourned. Thank you.